It's that time of year again. It's new bike launch season, and the announcements are coming thick and fast. One of the ones I've found most exciting so far is the new Ducati Hypermotard V2. Now, it's no secret that I'm a massive fan of supermotos. They're the perfect answer to motorcycling. They're great for skids, they're great for wheelies. I don't know what else should ever come into it. Skids and wheelies. I'm always happy with that. But on top of that, they represent a fun side of motorcycling. They are impractical, even by motorcycling standards. They are kind of pointless, but the one thing they do pretty much better than any other type of bike is put a smile on your face. They're fun, they're playful, and they're completely ridiculous. Now, in 2005, when the first Hypermotard was launched, supermotos were a thing. We were all trying to build 450 motocross bikes and convince ourselves that the numb hands and 4-litre fuel tanks were a great idea. And Ducati came out with this kind of pseudo sports bikey road supermoto. It was awesome, it looked wild, it was big, heavy, way faster than any of the contemporary supermotos at the time, but it did it in a Ducati's way. Proper big booming V-twin. Now, since that one, the Hypermotard has kind of evolved over the years, for better in some ways and for worse than others, if I'm completely honest. A few of the Hypermotards that came out softened that original package too much for me. That early 1100 air-cooled supermoto was bonkers. When you shut the throttle in low gears, it would chatter and lock the rear wheel. When you open the throttle, it just wheelied. When you tried to wrestle it, it was a big thing that just wanted to fight you the whole time. It was a proper experience to ride. With each generation after that, they sort of dumbed that down a bit, made it a bit more tame, a bit more docile, a bit softer, made the engine character a bit more revvy, and I'm sure you could do quicker lap times on some of those middle generation Hypermotards, but they just, for me, lost some of that fun. The last version, the 950, started to go back in the right direction for me. It started to have a bit more of that fun about it. It started to be a bit more playful, a bike you could do skids and stunts on, enjoy your city riding in a bit more of a playful way, enjoy a back road, finding humpback bridges to jump, finding little corners to do skids into. It rekindled my love for the Hypermotard. And with the new V2 engine that we've already seen in the Multistrada and the Panigale and the Street Fighter, I kind of knew this was coming. I think we all knew this was coming, and it's the bike I'm most excited about seeing that engine in. This new V2 engine Ducati's developed, okay, it's lost the desmodromic valve, so maybe it loses some of that special Ducati engineering mystique, but it returns to a more proper V-twin feeling engine. I've said it a lot when I've reviewed bikes with it in. It's got more torque, more drive off the corners, more kind of low down punch that, for me, a V-twin represents. You need that big booming roar off the turn. Put some, aftermarket pipes on them and they sound incredible, and the feel on the road as a road engine has really improved versus some of the older, revier V-twins Ducati had started to develop. Now, the Hypermotard V2 takes that engine and puts it in a new chassis. The bike they've put it in now is 13, or in the case of the SP, 14 kilograms lighter than the outgoing 950. And that addresses one of my niggles with the Hypermotard. A supermoto should be light, flickable, nimble, easy to do silly stuff on. That's quite easy to do on a 450cc single, or even the 698, the single-cylinder Hypermotard Ducati makes. When you make a V-twin one, you lose some of that playfulness. So dropping 14 kilos out of it in mass, that's going to make a big difference to how much fun it is to ride. Add to that the new 120 horsepower engine with 94 newton meters of torque. It's got more power and, more importantly, more brap. That's what we want out of this bike. So I am properly excited to actually get a go on one. As you'd expect with Ducati, the electronics package on this new bike is properly top drawer. I'm not going to go through every single little system on there because the internet's too small and life's too short for that. But the important stuff, they've got the backing in control and the slide control, which on the 698 works really well, especially if you're on a track day and you just want to start learning how to back in a bike. It's a skill a lot of people want to learn. The consequences of getting it wrong while backing a bike in are fairly crashy. This slide-by brake control that Ducati's developed means you basically hit the brakes into the corner, stand on the back brake, and it will slide the bike to an angle, and then it will hold it there. You can actually then step off the back brake, which normally would result in a big exit stage forward, collarbones and all. But with this system, it actually holds the brake on and keeps the bike drifting into the corner, so you don't get that panic off the brake, the high side, that can happen when you're learning to back it in. It's a really nice system. When you are able to back in a bike and drift it really well, you sort of don't need it, and you can end up fighting against it a bit. But for all those people who want to learn how to slide a bike into a corner, it's fantastic, and I'm really pleased to see it on bikes like the Hypermotards, both the single cylinder one and this new twin coming out. And as with all of the modern Ducatis, it comes with a big range of rider modes that you can program yourself, but the presets range from I've got a hangover, it's freezing cold and I'm tired and I'm riding to work in the rain mode, all the way through to it's the best day ever, I feel like I'm Marc Marquez and I'm going to do skids and wheelies everywhere, and kind of every iteration in between. They've got new switchgear on the bike, which makes it easier to cycle through the modes, program in, and most importantly, get it into skids and wheelie sitting as quickly as possible. Let's put some numbers on the new bike. In terms of the engine, it's 120 horsepower and 94 newton meters of torque. If you fit the Termi aftermarket race exhaust, but the homologated one, you get another 4 horsepower, 5 newton meters more torque, and save 4.5 kilos, which is a good improvement to make. On the Ducati press kit, they list it as weight fully prepped but with no fuel in it. There's a 12.5 litre fuel tank, so if you do a little bit of maths, I came up with 186.6 kilograms for the SP version and then 189.6 for the non-SP, so sub 190 kilos, which actually is pretty awesome. That's a good improvement in weight. Obviously, we'd love it to be 170 kilos, but if you buy one and fit loads of titanium bits, I'm sure you'll eventually get down to that weight. So there's a challenge for anyone who's ordered one. The spec of the SP basically is the standard kind of format for Ducati's SP model. It has the forged wheels, which save 1.5 kilos of weight, which again, as we all know, because we've done our homework, is good for actual weight loss, but also rotating mass, gyroscopic forces, so it will turn quicker. There's carbon fiber bits, got carbon fiber mudguard on there. The KYB suspension on the base model is swapped out for Öhlins with the NIX 30 fork, I believe, and then the uprated rear shock. And also you get Brembo M50 calipers rather than the Brembo M4.63, the slightly lower spec Brembo caliper on the base bike. Again, if you're just mucking around on the road and enjoying it, the SP is about bling. If you want to go to track and push it hard, then actually some of those little spec items will help you improve your track riding. But let's face it, if you're buying an SP, it's because you like Öhlins, carbon fiber and bling stuff, and there is nothing wrong with that. On a practical side of things, Ducati has once again tweaked and revised the shape of the Hypermotard, a few rider ergonomic things. They've moved the foot pegs further forward. They've tried to give it a more supermoto feeling, more dirt bike feeling riding position, rather than the kind of slightly sports bike vibe of the old one. They've also lowered the seat. It's now 880 millimeters, but they've made it narrower, and it's important not to get caught up too much in spec sheets with seat heights, because if you've been to a show and sat on bikes, you'll know that something that's got a really low seat height but is really wide and the foot pegs are right where you want to get your feet to the floor is way harder than something that's maybe a little bit taller but skinny. So Ducati's saying that they've made the bike a lot skinnier between your legs as well as the low seat height, so that will help if you struggle to get your feet down on the old one. But as with all these things, if you're worried about getting your feet down on it, get to the motorcycle show, get a seat on one, and then you can actually find out what it's really like to sort of balance it. On a practical note, as with the other bikes with this engine, there's a 35 kilowatt version available, so you're A2 license compatible, which, yeah, tell you what, if that's your first bike, you've started off pretty damn well. A little bit more chassis detail stuff, just like their superbikes, Ducati's use their monocoque frame design. So, you know, the monocoque airbox thing fitted to the front of the engine that holds the headstock and your forks on. And then there's actually a steel subframe on this one, a kind of trellisy subframe, harking back to that original 1100 Hypermotard. Now, spec is one thing, but by now I'm sure you've seen the pictures, and this is one of those bikes that just makes you go, holy wow, look, I like it. I think you can probably tell I like it, but it's what a Hypermotard should be. It is a bike that makes you go, whoa, look at that. It looks wild. It looks like a cartoon character picture of a bike. It's got a kind of weird, heavy set look to it. It doesn't look skimpy and stripped down like the 698 does. It looks like a big old engine with massive suspension and huge tyres. The SP comes in the kind of racy SP graphics. The standard one comes in the plain red. I would like a plain red one with gold wheels. That's my preference, but I'd like the SP spec, obviously. I think they've nailed it. I think it looks absolutely wild. I like the fact that they've put in some of the design features, like the little kind of spoilery tail unit with the rear light on it and those nostrils on the front mudguard from the very first one. Being that that's a bike close to my heart, I love that they've echoed that through. Just look at it. It looks absolutely wild. And looking through the press pack, I was absolutely delighted to see they've recreated one of the most iconic motorcycle shots of all time, which was from the original Hypermotard. It's Ruben Zaus backing it into a corner, and he's fully crossed up, knee on the deck, looking as cool as it's possible to look on a bike. And they've reshot that for this new one, which I think already earns the bike a massive tick from me. What's exciting is this is the lightest Hypermotard ever, the most powerful Hypermotard ever, which is awesome. And it's dropped back to an engine that's less focused on peak power and more focused on torque, thump out the corners, and that drive, which is what makes a supermoto feel fun to ride. That's what excites me about it. I've really enjoyed that new V2 engine in all of the bikes it's been in, and particularly this style of bike is something I think is going to suit really, really well. They've proven that they can do the supermoto concept really well with the new 698 mono, and the Hypermotard's gradually been, for me, getting back to its roots with each generation. This one, on paper and in the images, promises to be another step towards the ultimate Hypermotard. Obviously, Ducati think it's their best one. I still love the 1100 more than any other Hypermotard I've ever ridden, so this has got a lot to live up to, but it's going to be a whole lot of fun finding out just how good it is when we get to the launch. But for now, I'm going to share some nice images from the press pack of a bike that I think is probably one of my most exciting bikes for this year's launch season. Skids and wheelies. Perfect.